Hey YouTube, I'm going to be making a series summarizing episodes of One Piece, and this first series is going to cover the first 10 episodes. So let's get to it. Episode 1. Luffy is cast at sea in a barrel. Sailors on a passing cruise ship retrieve the barrel, but the ship is suddenly attacked with cannon fires by a nearby pirate ship, led by Alvida. The barrel is sent rolling into the kitchen. Once the cruise ship's sails have been destroyed, the Alvida pirates board the ship to plunder its goods, and Alvida also forces one of the chore boys named Kobe to board the ship. Meanwhile, a girl takes advantage of the opportunity and sneaks aboard Alvida's pirate ship to steal its treasure. Later, we know this girl to be Nami. Kobe and other pirates notice the barrel in the kitchen and find Luffy inside, who was sleeping. After Luffy defeats the hostile pirates, he goes with Kobe to the pantry to eat the stored food. Luffy explains that he set sail to begin his pirating career, but his dignity was destroyed by a whirlpool when he was left trapped at sea in a barrel. Kobe explains that he was riding on a rowboat but was kidnapped by the Alvida pirates and forced to become a chore boy. He explains his desire to escape the Alvida pirates someday and join the Marines. Alvida is informed of Lou's presence and, out of suspicion that he could be a bounty hunter, confronts him and Kobe in the pantry. This triggers a battle on the ship, but Luffy defeats the pirates. Although Alvida is armed with a large spike club, her attacks are rendered ineffective as Luffy ate the devil fruit, granting him the superhuman ability that gives his body rubber-like properties. Using his signature move, Gomu Gomu no Pistol, Luffy defeats Alvida, sending her flying off the ship and into the sea. Having concluded the battle, Luffy boards a tiny ship with Kobe to continue his travels, catching a glimpse of the female burglar who was also departing the ship on her own dignity. Luffy aims towards the Grand Line to search for the One Piece treasure, but first looks to recruit the infamous pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro into his crew. That concludes episode 1, and I think it did a really great job introducing us to the whole world and doing a great job world building and showcasing Luffy's abilities. So let's get to episode 2. Luffy and Kobe arrive at Shelltown, a town where a marine base is stationed. They find their target, Roronoa Zoro, crucified at the base. A small girl, Rika, sneaks into the base to offer Zoro onigiri, but she is stopped by Helmoppo, a snobbish man who destroys the onigiri. However, Zoro later eats the dirt-stained rice off the floor. Outside the marine base, Rika reveals that the town was run by tyrannical Captain Morgan, who allowed his son Helmoppo to regularly abuse his citizens. One day, Helmeppo brought a hostile wolf into a bar, which attacked the customers and ate their food. When Zoro attacked Helmeppo for his cruelty, Helmeppo threatened to execute all customers in the bar unless Zoro turned himself into the Marines, where he would be crucified for 1 month. Later, Helmeppo reveals that he had intended to execute Zoro, violating the deal he had struck with him. Luffy, hearing this, assaults him for his dishonesty, then heads towards the marine base to locate Zoro's confiscated katanas. As Morgan orders his men to erect a large statue of himself on the base's rooftop, Luffy launches himself towards the rooftop and accidentally destroying the statue in the process. Luffy grabs Helmoppo and flees, searching the buildings and locating the katanas. Meanwhile, the girl who robbed Alvida pirates also infiltrates the marine base to steal its goods. Meanwhile, Kobe attempts to free Zoro from the cross, but is spotted by Morgan, who orders his men to open fire on both of them. They are stopped by Luffy, who deflects these bullets with his rubber body. And that concluded episode 2. In episode 3, Luffy confronts
Axe Hand Morgan after rescuing Zoro from execution. The two quickly prove to be a powerful team. Zoro uses his 3-style sword to cut down enemy marines with ease, while Luffy uses his rubber powers to punch and knock back waves of opponents. Their teamwork overwhelms the marine soldiers, who began to question their loyalty to tyrannical Morgan. Enraged by his men's hesitation, Captain Morgan violently attacks his own subordinates, declaring that anyone who disobeys him is a traitor. Luffy confronts Morgan head-on, dodging his massive axe swings and countering with powerful rubber-based attacks. The fighting culminates in Luffy delivering a devastating Gomu Gomu pistol punch to Morgan's face, sending him crashing through a wall and effectively ending his reign of terror. The townspeople rejoice, and the marine base is left in shock at the fall of their feared captain. Meanwhile, Helmeppo, Morgan's cowardly son, tries to escape with his riches, but is stopped by Kobe. In a moment of courage, Kobe punches Helmeppo for his abuse of power, finally standing up for himself and what's right. This marks a significant turning point for Kobe, who has grown from a timid servant of pirates into someone with conviction and moral strength. The other Marines, witnessing the fall of Morgan and Kobe's bravery, begin to reconsider the true meaning of justice. After the dust settles, Kobe reveals to Luffy that he has decided to join the Marines in order to follow his dreams of becoming an admiral. Luffy supports his decision, but since they now stand on the opposite sides of the law, they must part ways. In a clever move to protect Luffy from suspicions, Luffy punches him in front of the Marines to make it appear as though they were never allies. As Luffy and Zoro sail away, Kobe stands proudly, saluting them, finally free to pursue his own path. With the addition of Zoro, the Straw Hats continue their path to finding the One Piece. And now, with the conclusion of episode 3, we're going to start summarizing episode 4. The episode starts with Nami seeing some pirates belonging to Buggy's crew. She decides to trick them by offering them a fake chest, and while they were distracted, she flees with their boat and leaves them hanging. We cut to Luffy and Zoro continuing their journey aboard a small rowboat. Suddenly, a gust of wind causes Luffy's hat to fly off, and as he and Zoro try to catch it, we get a flashback to Luffy's past. In Fuchsia Village, a young Luffy is seen idolizing a pirate crew led by a red-haired captain named Shanks. Luffy admires them for their adventurous life and cheerful personalities, but he gets frustrated when they don't take him seriously. Shanks in particular treats Luffy more like a kid than a potential pirate. One day, Luffy accidentally eats a strange fruit that Shanks' crew had stolen, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, a type of devil fruit. As a result, Luffy's body becomes rubbery, but he also loses the ability to swim, a serious weakness for a pirate. Later, a group of mountain bandits led by Higuma arrives at the bar and mocks Shanks and his crew. Shanks shrugs it off, refusing to fight over a spilled drink. Luffy is angered by what he perceives as cowardice, not yet understanding Shanks' philosophy, to only fight when it matters. Luffy tries to confront them and make them apologize to Shanks, but he gets captured and is on the verge of getting executed. Shanks and his crew come and defeat Higuma's henchmen. In the chaos, Higuma flees and decides to throw Luffy into the ocean. Just as Higuma throws Luffy into the ocean, a giant sea king, Lord of the Coast, appears and tries to devour Luffy. Luffy starts drowning, but Shanks arrives just in time and rescues him. The Sea King attacks again, but Shanks stares it down with such intimidating force that it flees. However, in the process, Shanks loses his left arm while protecting Luffy. This moment profoundly affects Luffy. When they return to the shore, Shanks gives Luffy his most prized possession, his straw hat, asking Luffy to return it once he becomes a great pirate. As we cut to present time, Luffy sees a bird and he wants to eat it, but when he tries to capture him, instead he gets captured and the bird flees with Luffy in his mouth. In the other part of the island, we see Nami running away from Buggy's crew with the map of the Grand Line in her hands. As she is being chased down, suddenly Luffy flies from the sky and lands next to Nami. And that concludes episode 4. Episode 4 gave us the background of Luffy's past, and it finally told us why the Straw Hat was so important to him from the beginning. With the conclusion of episode 4, let's head to episode 5, where things get more interesting. After setting off from Shell's Town with Nami in tow, Luffy and Zoro arrive at a new, seemingly abandoned town called Orange Town. The streets are empty and the buildings show sign of destruction. The town has recently been ransacked by a group of pirates led by the infamous Captain Buggy the Clown, known for his ruthlessness and unpredictable behavior. Luffy and Nami finally meet and have a chat. Nami talks to Luffy and tells him if he introduces him to Buggy, she will join his crew. Nami pretends to want to team up with Buggy's crew in order to betray them and steal their treasure. She tricks Buggy's men by presenting herself as a skilled navigator and offering him a stolen map of the Grand Line, which Buggy greatly desires. To prove her loyalty to Buggy, she captures Luffy and hands him over to the crew. Inside Buggy's hideout, which is decorated like a twisted circus, we're introduced to Captain Buggy himself, a flamboyant and theatrical pirate with a clownish appearance and a short temper. Buggy is extremely proud of his pirate status and obsessed with treasures and cannons. We learn he possesses a mysterious power from a devil fruit, the Chop Chop fruit, Bara no Mi, which allows him to detach and control parts of his body at will, making him immune to slashing attacks. Meanwhile, Luffy is still tied up, remains calm and unfazed, even when he's placed inside the cannon that Buggy plans to fire. Nami is ordered to light the fuse as her loyalty test. Despite her hatred of pirates, she hesitates, realizing that Luffy is nothing like the pirates she despises. When one of Buggy's crews lights up the fuse, she uses her hand to defuse it and injures her hand in the process. At the same time, Zoro sneaks into the base, searching for Luffy. He comes and rescues Nami as she was about to be attacked by Buggy's crew. Zoro challenges Buggy and cuts him down. However, Buggy uses his devil fruit abilities to cut himself into pieces and stab Zoro. The episode ends with Zoro pointing Buggy's cannon against him. This was a crazy episode. We get to see really how unique some of these devil fruit abilities are, especially with Buggy, who I think has one of the coolest abilities, being able to dislocate and separate his body like that. It's very cool, and it just shows you how unique the devil fruit abilities are. And yeah, that concludes episode 5, and then let's get to episode 6. After the crazy cliffhanger that we had with episode 5, let's see what happens in episode 6. Having warded off the Buggy pirates, a wounded Zoro drags Luffy's cage to a local pet food shop. The mayor appears and takes Zoro into his house to nurse his wounds. Meanwhile, Luffy interacts with Choo Choo, a dog defending the shop. The mayor explains that Choo Choo's owner passed away from illness, so he continues to defend the deceased owner's store as a memento. Although Nami arrives with the key to Luffy's cage, Choo Choo eats the key before the cage could be unlocked. Buggy sends his first mate, Moji, the beast tamer, to search for and eliminate Zoro. Riding his lion Richie, he finds Luffy still trapped in the cage. Moji orders Richie to attack Luffy, destroying his cage and setting him free. He then strikes Luffy into a house, destroying it. Richie raids the store for food and burns him to the ground as Choo Choo fights in vain to defend the store. After seeing Moji's actions, Luffy came to Choo Choo's aid, defeating both Richie and Moji before giving the dog a single box of pet food salvaged from the fire. Moji returns to Buggy to report his defeat. As an act of vengeance, Buggy fires a buggy ball into the town, destroying the mayor's house with Zoro still in it. Although Zoro was fortunately unharmed by the blast, the mayor decides to stand up to Buggy for his callous invasion of the town. Nami agrees to temporarily join forces with Luffy and Zoro and assists Boodle in confronting Buggy. This episode really showcased what One Piece is really known about, and that's the emotion. The scenes with the dog, it just makes you feel some sort of way, and I think One Piece does a great job with emotions. And with that, episode 6 concludes. So let's get to seeing what happens in One Piece episode 7. Luffy knocks Boodle unconscious to prevent him from injuring himself further in battle. And as a reminder, Boodle was the mayor of the town. Buggy fires a buggy ball at the group, but Luffy deflects the cannonball using his rubber body, firing the projectile back at the Buggy pirates. Buggy's men are decimated by the attack, save for Buggy himself, who used his subordinates as human shields, and his chief of staff and acrobat Kabaji, who used Richie as a shield. Kabaji offers to battle the group on Buggy's behalf, and Zoro decides to duel him one-on-one. At the start of the battle, Kabaji uses dirty tricks to give himself an advantage, aiming for Zoro's stab wound. He also rides on his unicycle to attack Zoro from different angles. However, Zoro uses his onigiri technique, slicing Kabaji's chest and defeating him. Kabaji falls off his unicycle and Zoro falls asleep on the ground, leaving Luffy and Buggy the only combatants left in combat. During Zoro's battle with Kabaji, Nami breaks away from the group, instead trespassing into the pub. She takes down one of the patrolling guards and uses his key to open a treasure chest, revealing a map of the Grand Line inside. Luffy and Buggy battle with Buggy, detaching his body parts to protect himself from Luffy's attack. However, Buggy manages to damage Luffy's straw hat. Buggy then pierces the hat with 3 knives,
further infuriating Luffy. After Luffy reveals the significance of the hat to Buggy, Buggy reveals that he holds a very strong grudge against Shanks, cursing his name. And that's how the episode ends, and it just leaves us with a really cool twist that Buggy might actually know Shanks, which is very interesting. So yeah, that concluded episode 7, and let's see what happens in One Piece episode 8. Alright, so this is a summary of One Piece episode 8. Buggy reveals his relationship with Shanks, as they were both apprentices working for a pirate crew. While the pirates were looting a ship, Buggy found a valuable treasure map and kept it for himself. He later learns from Shanks that the pirates have also looted a devil fruit from the ship. This deeply intrigues Buggy. Buggy planned to steal the fruit and escape and sell both the fruit and the treasure map. Buggy ate a fake devil fruit in front of the pirates to trick them, while he kept the real one for himself. However, just before he was able to leave with the fruit, he was caught by Shanks, causing him to accidentally eat their fruit. Buggy also lost the treasure map as the wind blew the map overboard. Buggy, who permanently lost the ability to swim, was unable to recover the map, foiling his plans of defecting from the pirates and starting his own crew. He would need to wait another 10 years to acquire the wealth needed to start his own crew, and that's basically the grudge that he had against Shanks. In the present day, Buggy smuts Nami attempt to leave with the treasure. Using his Bara Bara festival, Buggy splits himself up into several pieces and attempts to seize his stolen treasures. However, Luffy comes to her aid, striking him down. Buggy attempts to resemble himself, but Nami restrains many of his body parts with a rope, leaving Buggy much more smaller and vulnerable. Luffy then strikes the weakened Buggy with Gomu Gomu no Bazooka, sending him flying into the air and out of the town. Nami gives Luffy the map of the Grand Line while she keeps the rest of Buggy's treasures. She agrees to temporarily sail with the crew as an opportunity to acquire bellies, and those are the real monies in One Piece. Meanwhile, the citizens of Orange Town, who had evacuated to the outskirts due to Buggy's invasion, grow increasingly concerned for the mayor's safety and decide to return to their town. However, as a group were the only pilots left in town, they are incurrently blamed for the destruction of the town. Luffy flees from the angry citizen. Choo Choo, aware of the crew's true intentions, stops the mob, allowing them to head to the pier to escape. Back in the town, Budo wakes up and finds that the Buggy's pirates have been successfully repelled from the town. He goes to the pier to thank the group as they depart. To Nami's horror, Luffy leaves her treasures behind so the citizens could fund repairs for their town. And then finally, the episode ends with a mysterious man standing and awaiting visitors in a distant land. This is like one of my favorite episodes in the first couple of episodes of One Piece, because it shows us Buggy's background and we see how close he was to Shanks, and it's crazy how much he hates him even though Shanks saved his life. Anyways, let's go to episode 9.
The crew, who lacks a ship adequate for the Grand Line, decides to stop by Syrup Village, a small island in the south, in search of a better ship. In Syrup Village, the town prankster, Usopp, fools the townspeople into thinking pirates have come to attack the village. The townspeople chase him out of town. However, one of the children in Usopp's pretend pirate group inform him that the pirates have indeed arrived at the island. The Usopp pirates go to the coast to confront the crew. Usopp attempts to intimidate and repel them from the island, but all attempts fail as Luffy sees through each of his ploys. Luffy deduces that Usopp is the son of Yasopp, one of the people on Shanks' crew. After stopping at a local restaurant for food, they decide to go to the large mansion on top of the hill to ask its owner for financial support. The lady of the mansion, Kaya, is being protected by her butler, Klahadore, following her parents' death. Despite Usopp being the only person to make her happy, Klahadore bars him from entering the mansion due to his reputation as a delinquent. Still, Usopp sneaks into the mansion and speaks with Kaya. The crew follow him and sneak into the mansion, but Klahadore confronts them for trespassing. In the outskirts of the town, a peculiar man emerges, moonwalking down the road.
Not gonna lie, like this guy looks just like Michael Jackson. I'm pretty sure he was inspired by Michael Jackson. But anyways, let's get to episode 10, which will be the final episode, which I will be covering in this video. Klahadore confronts the crew, refusing their request for his ship. Redirecting his rage at Usopp, he insults Usopp for his pirate father, calling him a barbaric, lowly criminal. Usopp angrily attacks Klahadore. In response, Klahadore expels Usopp and the crew from the front yard, ordering them to never return. Kaya remains in her bedroom and cries, and Klahadore enters to console her. He explains his past and the reasoning behind his protection of her. After being expelled from the ship he was working on, he was left homeless in Syrup Village. Kaya's father kindly accepted him into his mansion, and he dedicated himself to servitude for Kaya's family. After Kaya's parents passed away, Klahadore decided to become her guardian and protect her from harm, including Usopp, whom he considers to be a bad influence on her. Kaya forgives Klahadore for his harsh handling of the situation. Zoro and Nami remain on the outskirts of town with the children. One of the children discovers the strange moon-looking man and alerts the others. The man introduces himself as a hypnotist. He demonstrates his skills by hypnotizing the children with a chakram on a string, causing the children to fall asleep. However, he accidentally hypnotizes himself, causing him to fall asleep as well. Usopp and Luffy sit on a cliff where they discuss Usopp's father, Yasopp. However, they find Klahadore, who is privately meeting with the hypnotist Django at the base of the cliff. To their horror, they find that Klahadore was really Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates. Kuro and Django intended to assassinate Kaya to inherit her wealth, as Django could hypnotize Kaya into changing her will. They revealed that Kuro escaped Marine pursuit by sending a lookalike of him to the Marines for execution. Django reveals that the Black Cat pirate ship was stationed at the island, ready to invade the village at any moment. Kuro and Django spot Luffy and Usopp overhearing their conversation. Django hypnotizes Luffy asleep, causing him to fall headfirst off the cliff. They decided not to pursue Usopp, knowing his townspeople would not believe him if he spoke out. Usopp flees towards the village. That concludes episode 10 of One Piece. I hope you enjoyed the summary of the first 10 episodes of One Piece. I'm planning on doing summaries for the next 10 episodes until we're all caught up. I know it's going to take a while, but if you guys like this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.